This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. So when the Silver Sky SE was first announced, I had a couple of questions like, one, why use 2-point trem? And two, why would you use Poplar in the body? And I think I read kind of an interview with one of the main honchos, the CEO of PRS, and I can now kind of see why. So what happened in around 2020 was that there was a surge of online sales for guitars as this COVID thing happened. I don't think anyone really predicted that, and no one really predicted that guitar sales would go through the roof at that point. I guess partly due to things like stimulus checks, or in the UK, whatever we called them here. But people had some income, they were at home for longer, and as a result, I think there's a bit of a shortage of this lighter wood, and we can see that in the Fender American Professional series, which followed on from the American Original. One of the things that you'll spot in a lot of videos is that, and also if you look at the weights on like Peach guitars and stuff, is that they're potentially slightly heavier than a custom shop Strat might be, or a Strat would have ordinarily been potentially a few years ago. And now the reason for that is presumably because the custom shop selects the lighter wood, because the premium guitars, which are also using alder and ash as well, they're going to select that wood. I think it all comes from the same kind of stocks, and they're going to use that lighter wood on their more kind of flagship instruments. The same must be true for PRS, and the reason I guess that they've gone for Poplar on this is because they can use higher quality wood or lighter wood at less of the premium than alder. Initially, I think there was some resistance in the company for doing this, is what I get the sense from this interview, until they blind tested it. I can see now that I think it's a sensible choice, right? If you've got to compromise on one aspect, why would you want a heavier piece of wood when people tend to favour lighter Strats in general. This one comes in at £7.05. I had one that was under £7 and then another one which was about the same weight as this. Now, I think that's about where you would want the weight of a Strat to be if you care about that sort of thing. I certainly don't think people would necessarily be selecting by choice to have Strats that weigh over £8 is my sense for this. You know, like all of my K-lines are around the weight of this one. And so I can see that if you want to keep, you know, using as quality parts as you can for a certain price and using woods that don't necessarily, you know, come out weighing a lot more, then why not use Poplar? Also, I'm thinking that the Silver Sky could be a valid option again because these have just gone on sale in the UK at £600, which I think for £600, yes, I think the Mexican Player is a pretty cool guitar too. And when there was a £300 gap difference in the UK, I would have said that the Player is probably the more stratty guitar of the two. And I couldn't see paying £300 extra for this in the UK. Now that they're the same price, because they're on sale for some reason, I would honestly say give one of these a try because they're good lightweight instruments. They're well made, the ones that I've played. The weaknesses might be something like the saddles, some of the hardware potentially, but the fundamental guitar that you get is going to be a solid piece of work based on my experience. Good fretwork. I think it looks cool. Other people definitely don't. Some people really hate PRS. And I've had another thought about, like, why is it that Paul Reed-Smith gets quite a lot of backlash online? I did the video about what's wrong with PRS a while ago. I didn't get any concrete answers for things that Paul has done specifically wrong. And again, I kind of like, jokingly made the video about the PRS horse meat. And I saw him on that pedal show kind of describing that story in depth. And it was a much more kind of humble story than I think the marketing kind of makes out. You know, it's almost got nothing to do with the Klon at all, which again, it makes it an odd choice of name for it. But the pedal by itself, if you take the Klon out of the equation, is a drive pedal that is pretty versatile. That's what I was using in the intro there. And the guy seems like a normal guy who's interested in making guitars. And I like the idea that, you know, if you want to buy a PRS Silver Sky, there's just the two price points, right? You've got either the full Monty, which I think compares very favorably with a Fender Custom Shop, or you've got the cheaper option, which is not super cheap, but is also reliably good enough that I think you could probably buy one off the shelf and be fairly confident that it'd be all right, except for maybe the saddles. On the last two that I had, they broke strings like straight away, or maybe the strings that are coming out on these guitars are fairly old. Comparing it to the American Fender, I do prefer the neck shape of this. So this is like a soft V, and it feels like the fretboard edges are more rolled on the Fender. The fretwork, it looks comparable, and I think there are actually less finishing flaws on the Silver Sky SE than on that Fender, as well as it weighing like £0.5 pound less. So it can compare favourably, I think, particularly if you're looking for a lightweight or lighter vintage kind of spec Strat that doesn't necessarily have to have a Fender headstock. So let me know your thoughts on that. Are you one of the folks that really liked the SE Silver Sky, or are you one of the folks that was a bit on the fence at the start? I was certainly on the fence because at the time they were £895. Now that you can get them for £600 in the UK, I might take another look at it and think, well, you know, for £600, maybe there's the Sire, maybe there's a Mexican Player, but I think you get quite a lot for your money at £600. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll catch you in another video soon. I was using the HX Stomp Thiggy Clean for that intro, as well as the PRS Horse Meat. I don't know if you enjoyed the tones. I kind of enjoyed playing it. Worth another look. I think it's £600. And that's why it's made of Poplar, is because they were able to keep the weights more reasonable than, I think, even more expensive guitars with wood that presumably has very similar characteristics. I don't think anyone would be picking out Poplar versus Alder in a blind test. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. Cheers.